basically that was the term that the elites used for a next pandemic. So you had this guy Bill Gates. I think even Klaus Schwab, warned of a pandemic. And different, I think other globalists warned of a disease X. And we know that ESO, he deals with predictive programming. So hey, there's gonna be another disease or diseases, man. So ESO, he's taking measures that ultimately can hurt you people. Not doing checkups on food safety, making sure everything is straight, everything good that you people may consume. But this man, he's he's possibly making moves to get you people to eat something, and get sick. Another virus, a disease is not off the table. It's not off the table. Let's go to the book of. In fact, this is what the Lord said. Onto Esdras. 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verse 11. It says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm. And this is the Lord's intention for you elect of Israel. You descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by blood, which are ultimately you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And you also have Israelites who look like the heathen, but are descendants, who may not have the look of an Israelite, but by blood you're an Israelite, But nevertheless, this is the Lord's intention for you elect, those of you who have believed in this truth and been sanctified by the Spirit. The Lord's intention is to what? Deliver you, to save you, and to place you upon a high mountain. That is going to be the kingdom. A kingdom that's going to be above all nations, ruling in righteousness. And that's going to be eternal, never ending. And this is the blessed future that you elect have. But going to the point, it says, and smite Egypt with plagues. So the Lord is going to smite America. Though it says Egypt, is referring to America. The Lord has put epithets on America in the scriptures. Epithet means a descriptive name or title. A nickname, in other words, And this is just, well, you could say these scriptures are dark sayings. It's a mystery, it's a secret that has to be interpreted. Revelation chapter 11, it speaks about that great place spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. That's America. And America is just another land where you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Indians are oppressed and enslaved in. it says, and smite Egypt with plagues as before. So the Lord is going to smite America as he smote ancient Egypt in the past. What was some of the plagues that the Lord smote Egypt with? Pestilence. Different. And you can really say the Lord was really. And I'm not even being deep with it. The Lord was biologically attacking Egypt. Biologically attacking them, man. The Lord attacked their food security, their food source, their animals, brought a plague upon them. So biological warfare, could be a thing in these last days. In this case, the Lord will use Esau to do it, to come against his enemies, which is ultimately these nations, you people, and you Jakes who have not sought the Lord and have turned aside from the Lord, So biological warfare is on the table. It's just in ancient Egypt, the Lord was doing it himself, or by way of the angels, spiritual power, The Lord in this time could use the spirit of man, Esau, to do it, So prepare for some biological attack, viruses, pestilences, But when it comes for you for your elect, let's go to the book of Isaiah real quick. When it comes to you elect, Salak is acting slow. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3 says, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace." Yeah, the Lord is going to keep you elect, you believers, those of you who have stayed on his truth, who abideth in Yahushua in the faith. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Yeah, your heart, is in Yahushua, is in his truth, in the faith, because he trusteth in thee. Yeah, you trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord, you're going to trust in these scriptures. You're going to trust in the doctrine. You're going to trust in the right way. You're going to rely upon it. You're going to lean upon it. When you go into that word perfect, it's from the Hebrew word shalom or shalom. Peace from the Hebrew word shalom or shalom. Which means safe, happy, friendly, welfare, health, prosperity. So the Lord is going to keep you safe in these last days. In times of pestilence, when there's viruses, you're going to be in perfect health. The Lord got, some of you believers are on a health regimen, however you say it, routine, Eating good. The Lord got the body, the prophets, speaking on health, speaking on different roots and herbs, But if when famine come, you're gonna have provision. The Lord's gonna provide for you. The Lord's gonna, give you prosperity in a way. While many are suffering. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 7. Blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and whose hope is Yahweh is. You know? And again, trust in the Lord, you're going to trust in these scriptures. If you trust in these scriptures, you deem it to be profitable. You know, who's going to trust in something that they think is unprofitable? You know, in something that they think will do no good. No, you're going to trust in something that doeth good, that doeth you profit, that advantage you. You know, so you're going to walk in this truth. You know, well, you know, that's really it. You know, continue believing, continue keeping the faith. Shalom. All praise and honor and glory be to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.